So first we have Gavin McCrane, who's our CEO of PacerPro. Gavin is a California litigator with 7 years experience in complex litigation, and Gavin founded PacerPro in 2011. Among other things, Gavin has been named a Fast Case 50 Award winner for innovation in the legal industry and an ABA Journal Legal Rebel. Anna McGrain is COO of PacerPro, and she is a former big law lawyer. She got her JD at NYU Law and her LLM in Chinese laws from Peking University. She received merit scholarships from both institutions. Our panel moderator today is going to be John Digilio. He is the former manager of National Library Research Services at Reed Smith, LLP, and is now Senior Director, Research and Intelligence at LAC Group. John is internationally known law librarian, educator, and award-winning author. John has over 20 years of professional legal research and management experience. And our panelists will include Michelle Koepf, who is the Records and Risk Manager at Keker Van Nest and Peters, Evan Melluzzo, Director of Docketing and Court Services at Schulte Roth Zabel, and Debbie Brand, Docket and Court Services Supervisor at Sidley Austin. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Anna McCrane.
Thank you so much, Elaine, and thank you, everybody, for making the time to join us this morning. We really do appreciate it. What we're going to be doing today is first just a quick sort of 15-minute overview of the PacerPro product, why you might purchase it, what the benefits for your firm would be, and then pretty quickly what we're going to go over to is the panel discussion. And the purpose of the panel discussion is really to enable a dialogue between us as a technology provider and our clients, current and prospective. We want it to be frank and relaxed and informal so that you can really learn a lot more about who we are as a company and why we're in this space. So again, without further ado, one of the biggest questions that we do get from clients who haven't seen PacerPro before is, I've already got Pacer, so why should I have PacerPro? Is it just, lipstick on a pig? And the answer is in part changes in workflow at offices. So one of the things that we're all dealing with is that in today's world, everybody's on a 24/7 cycle. If there's a filing at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, the partner's going to want it by 11:02. We keep getting more and more documents that our staff and our teams are having to handle. And mobile access, while better than it used to be, is never perfect. Of course, in the case of court notices, the courts do send out notices of electronic filing, but these are problematic for several reasons. One, if you click the link when you're on a mobile device, oftentimes you can't access the full document, so you may only be able to access the first page. If you click the link twice, you'll have to enter Pacer credentials, which the attorneys often don't have at hand. And if you want to forward it onto a client, you actually have to download it and label it properly so that it's presentable. This causes frustration for partners as they wait for staff to send them the documents. It means that everybody from your secretaries and paralegals to docketing to associates will get stuck at the office late at night waiting for filings to come in. And just as problematically, there will be key team members who don't get the court notification. So for many law firms, it's standard for the attorney themselves, perhaps the partner who brought in the case to get the notification, the docketing team, and a secretary or paralegal, but not the junior associates, not clients, and not co-counsel. And what that situation creates is just a mess. And of course, that mess has ramifications. Particularly after 2008, most law firms are keeping tight tabs on the increases in staff, even though the amount of work is actually increasing. And any time that you're going into Pacer to download, label, and distribute a document, you're being pulled away from key calendaring services. So what is the PacerPro solution? It's fairly straightforward. It is, instead of an email with a link that people then have to handle and distribute, it is an email, goes straight to their email inboxes with the actual PDF attached and properly labeled. So as you can see here, the PDF will include all attachments. And if you look towards the top of the mobile device, you can see that it will go out to both the partner or paralegal, anybody that you specify on a case-by-case basis. These emails have been really quite popular with our user group. I pulled a quote from a Hogan Lovells associate We're processing about 400,000 of them monthly at this point. We have very high open rates. Again, usage always speaks to value. One thing I also wanted to cover quickly was just setup. It's a fairly straightforward process. The first thing is you centralize ECF credentials. PacerPro will complete the setup, and your attorneys and case teams will begin to receive the PDF to go emails. So really on your side, what's required is to centralize the ECF credentials, and PacerPro takes over from there. Something that's also special about the company, and it's something that's really important to my brother, is that it emphasizes no software solutions. So if we go back here, an email with a PDF is something that is readily understood by the vast majority of your attorneys. There's no logins, there's no passwords. You don't have to go through a training session. This is how you open email. It's how they're used to getting their documents. And now we're just going to automate that for you. The primary benefits that we do see, one is just the lawyers like it. They like getting their documents faster. It can also be very helpful for paralegals and docketing teams because it can cut down on multi-notifications. The one thing that we see with a lot of law firms is if an important order or motion comes in, then various team members will all forward it to make sure that nobody misses anything. With the PacerPro system, everybody is on the CC. Everybody knows that everybody got the email in real time, and so you can try and cut down on that flood to your email inbox. Another very important aspect is risk management. At any point where there is a throttle, where these key court documents are getting stuck in one department or another, and the actual document's not getting out to the case teams, you have an opportunity for delay, that something might fall through the cracks. And this way, as soon as it comes in, it is out to everybody on the team, and they can actually get to work. And the last law is, of course, the business as much as anything else. We are always all striving to provide the highest level of value to our clients. With PacerPro, and we're happy to provide ROI metrics from our small clients, you can really cut down on costs. So it's everything from the manual labor that it takes to actually download and label and distribute these, to the Pacer fees from double downloads, but it's something that more than pays for itself. All right. John, would you like to introduce the panelists?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much, Elaine. As Elaine mentioned, my name is John Digilio, and I am the Senior Director of Research and Intelligence here at LibSource, which is a division of LAC Group. And over the last 20-plus years, I've had most of my experience in law firms. One of the beauty to bringing in new software is the ability to talk to our colleagues and help evaluate that software. We've put together today a great panel for you that can talk about PacerPro. We have Michelle Koepf, who has been the Records and Risk Manager at Keker Van Nest and Peters, LLP, for the past 12 years. She oversees the operations of their records, conflicts, new business, and calendar departments. She is the immediate past president of the Golden Gate chapter of ARMA International and core founder of the Bay Area Conflicts User Group. We also have Debbie Brand, who has been the Docket and Court Services Manager at Sidley Austin for the past 5 years. Prior to Sidley, Debbie worked at Wildman Herald for 33 years in the Docket, Records, and Conflict Services area. And last but not least, we have Evan Melluzzo, who is the Director of Docketing and Court Services at Schulte Roth Zabel, LLP. With over 20 years of experience, Evan is responsible for overseeing a busy litigation calendar, as well as providing procedural advice and developing strategies with respect to certain aspects of litigation. We have a series of questions for our panelists today, and because you cannot see them, I'm going to go ahead and call on our panelists by name and restate the questions as necessary so that our audience can follow along. Michelle, let's go ahead and start with you on this first question. Why did you onboard the PacerPro service?
Well, when I learned about the PacerPro service actually from our legal librarian, I saw immediately two things it was going to be huge help for. That one was for my calendar docket person, getting the PDFs directly, not having to download anything, and then also for my records department, whose job it is to go out and download all those ECF notices we get. And not only do they have to put them in our records database, they had to put them in a separate case management tool for each case. So I just saw the huge time savings. It was just, I was like, wow, finally the answer to what I've been looking for several years.
Thank you. And Debbie, what about at Sidley Austin? What was your rationale for onboarding the service?
Well, it's kind of interesting because we did have an attorney that had been using it for a while, and once he finally got a hold of our librarian and just, talked about it and talked about what a great idea it is and how he gets his documents so timely, we decided to roll it out to the rest of the firm.
Great. And then Evan, what's your experience been with onboarding? What was your rationale?
Well, with respect to the number of cases that the partners are on, where they're the only ones that have appeared and get the ECF notifications, one of the main reasons why we did it was so the associates, the paralegals, and my staff also were able to grab copies automatically when notifications came in, especially when it was late at night, when essentially the associate was here and the partner was not. It made things seamless.
Great. Thank you. The next question we have, I'll start with you, Debbie, is what are your attorneys saying about PDF to go?
They love it. In fact, a couple weeks ago, we had a little problem with, the emails. When they came through, the PDFs were attached, and they weren't able to open them, and it turned out to be something with the Explorer that, but it was amazing how many calls I got that they couldn't get their documents. So obviously it's a useful tool, everybody's using it.
Evan, have you had similar experiences with your attorneys?
Yes, I did. I can recall one case in particular where I was e-filing some documents late at night here in the Southern District of New York, and once they were filed, the attorney got his first notification through PacerPro, and he actually text messaged me and said, PacerPro is awesome. So really, really good feedback.
Excellent. And Michelle, at Keker, what are your attorneys saying?
So our attorneys sometimes are kind of quiet, but actually that's a good way because I can tell that things are going along smoothly.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. I think they've adapted to it and really gotten used to it so well that they just kind of think of it as second nature, like they expect it. And I've personally got a really nice, out of the blue from one attorney who's always been kind of quiet, actually sent a sort of like a congratulations to me and included the managing partner, and he just really loves it, not only for the PDFs but also for the third-party alerts. So I think it's really been adapted by our firm and become second nature. And they get really quiet when, things are just, they assume it's working, it's good, they love it, and they keep going.
Wonderful. So what I think we're going to do now is go ahead and probe our panelists for some details. And Evan, we'll start with you this time. How did you handle the PDF to go rollout at Schulte?
Well, I do recall sending an email to a select number of attorneys to start a pilot program just so they got a general understanding of the benefits of PacerPro. It was quite simple, easy to use, easy to administer. There were no issues that we've encountered.
That's great. And Michelle, were your experiences similar at Keker, or did you have a different approach to your rollout?
Our rollout was we started first with having my records folks and calendar people use it first, just to get used to it, and we did that for about a good month and a half before we sent it out to the public at large. Basically, for our attorneys, we're usually pretty simple here. We sent them an email a month ahead of time saying this is what's going to be happening, and then when we're rolling it out, we basically said this is happening, and we gave them a few instructions. So they seemed to adapt to it pretty quickly. They didn't have many questions because everything was already done for them on the back end. I mean, PacerPro set up all the the unique email addresses and all their accounts at the various courts. We had a training session for our secretaries and paralegals. If anything, that would probably be the only place that we ran into some confusion. They do seem to confuse Pacer with PacerPro, and that was the only problem I had. That was more with the support staff. The attorneys was pretty easy. They got into the alerts. Quite a few attorneys really liked those to help follow, certain litigation. So the rollout went pretty easy, I would say.
Excellent. That's great to hear. And Debbie, what was the Sidley approach?
We basically did the same thing with having the pilot program first, picking out the products people, the products liability people, the attorneys in that group. We started with them. Joanne set up all the accounts. That's my boss. And once that happened, then everybody started talking about it, and everybody wanted it. So, then we just started with Chicago, then we went on to New York, Dallas, L.A., San Francisco, and everybody's happy. So everybody's on board now.
Excellent. And Michelle, I'd like to come back to something you were talking about as far as, what PacerPro, their staff was doing on the back end to help with that rollout. Can you say a little more about that?
Gavin did a super job. He actually came to our firm, and he literally put him in a conference room and gave him some coffee, and he literally sat there and added all the unique accounts, email addresses for all our attorneys at all the courts we practice in. Even though we are one office, we actually practice pretty much all over the United States. So we're in very many federal courts, both the district courts and the appellate courts. And so he steadily did that, which was a huge time saver, obviously, for us. He gave us this great, at the end of the whole thing, we had this great master spreadsheet, which basically listed all our attorneys, all the courts they were currently practicing in, the federal courts, I should say, and all their addresses and everything. He also went through, and by doing that, we found out, we have some bad, either login information, either the credentials or the password, so that we were able to do a huge cleanup. So that part was really helpful for us, because we hadn't done that in a long time, and that was a little eye-opening for some folks, too, that we really need to do a little bit better job of maintaining that information.
Excellent. Thank you. And Evan, I'm going to put you on the spot too. Is there a particular, takeaway lesson from your rollout experience that you would advise others?
Let's see. I think the rollout should be in pilot, and just a handful of those tech-savvy attorneys and paralegals should get access. I had to essentially get them used to the double email, because you would get one from, the court and then one from PacerPro, and some of the attorneys who have been practicing for many years, they're not that tech savvy, so I kind of had to ease them in and show them the benefit of the PacerPro, the hits that we get from PacerPro.
Great. Thank you. And one more question for you, Debbie, is did you have any holdouts, and how did you win them over?
Truthfully, we really didn't have a holdout.
That's great to hear.
No, not at all. Everybody, in fact, they would rather have a PacerPro. Sometimes, they're just interested in watching cases, and they'd rather get the emails from PacerPro than from Pacer. It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, I've got one more scripted question for our panel here, and then we'll see if we have any questions coming in. As Elaine had mentioned earlier, feel free to put your questions into the question box, the chat box right there on screen. But before we get to those and open up the floor, a little bit of a pointed question here for our panel, and that is, what would you like to see from the company going forward? And Michelle, I'll start with you on that one.
Okay. Wow. I think, I find their interface actually quite easy to use. Probably I know, and actually I already know they have this in the development, so it's really not fair, is that the search thing, to be able to say if you don't get any research results, to basically hit the back button and go back and have your initial search criteria still there. That's one thing we've gotten a few complaints about, but I actually already know they have that in development, so that's really not fair. Right now, I'm actually pretty good. I can't think of anything. It's hitting all my places. It's taking care of my records folks, my calendar folks, and even my conflicts people. When we need to do a conflicts check on basically a really large piece of litigation, we can go out and download that spreadsheet, and basically with a little cleanup, we can put it right into our database for a conflicts check.
Great. Thank you. And then, Debbie, same question for you is what would you like to see from the company going forward?
I think anytime you get a hold of a customer service, if you have, like, for example, our Pacer account, our, our Sidley Pacer login, somebody decided to change it. So that affected everybody, that was tied in with PacerPro. But anyway, we reached out to PacerPro, and they were able to correct that instead of us going into each account and make the correction. It kind of brought a little hiccup, but once that all got taken care of, it was good. I really can't think of anything right now. MDLs are on there, right? Yeah, I think
Gavin and Anna, I'll throw that one to you. MDLs are on there?
That's in the development pipeline. So it's Federal Court of Claims currently, District Court, Bankruptcy Court, and Appellate, but not the MDL. So, yeah, that's definitely an area that we need to bring on.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Then that would be it.
Yeah. Same here for Michelle, MDL.
There you go. That's 2 votes for MDLs. And, Evan, how about you? What would you like to see from PacerPro going forward?
Well, I would love to see Gavin and his crew expand to the state court side, because that would be fantastic. You should start with New York. I know.
Start with California.
Start with California, start with New York. I'm happy with either.
Both.
Both is great.
Well, we've been having some conversations about California courts, just as an FYI. New York is a little bit out of my comfort zone just because I'm out here, but Evan, at some point...
I'm here.
Kind of
Come on, I'm here to help.
I got it. I appreciate it. As you know, we're doing the big analytics push right now, so it's kind of focusing most of our resources.
Yep.
And I guess actually to follow up on, can I put in two things?
Go right ahead, please.
So for the new search page that Michelle was talking about, this is actually what it's going to look like. So the one that I showed you that's currently available to everybody, here you enter in the court. With the new one, it's going to just be a little bit more intuitive, so you can select person, business, attorney, case numbers. With the courts, instead of having to type in California, you can just click. So now I'm searching all of California, Kentucky, and North Carolina. And then critically, if I run the search here and then I don't get back the results because I realized I was searching California and I should have been searching Texas, then your search criteria will stick. So it's all about saving a couple of clicks. And then to Debbie's point, with regards to managing the Pacer credentials, which was actually quite funny for us because we had 2 of our largest clients within a day of each other both call us because they both had attorneys accidentally change the firm Pacer credentials. And I was like, is it bad luck, or did Pacer change something to make it easy? So now what we have is that if, for example, you have different offices that have different Pacer credentials, and let's say that in our Sacramento office we had one of these rogue attorneys, so you needed to quickly change the Pacer credentials that were associated with all of the PacerPro accounts, now you can just do it.
Awesome.
Well, great. Thank you for that follow-up, Anna. And, we've had a lot of information from Gavin and Anna, and we've heard some great experiences from our panelists. What I would like to do is check in with Elaine now to see if we have any questions from the floor. We have about 15 minutes, and we're happy to take your questions. Elaine, has anything come in?
Yes. The question is, how did Anna generate the list of firm cases in her demo?
Anna, we'll throw that to you.
For this, are they referring to when I did the search and I generated that Excel? Or do they mean that when we went to, I think they must have meant, now that I think about it.
I think they're talking about the litigation.
The war time, yeah. So you would go as the organization.
Go ahead. Sorry, Anna.
Oh, no. So where you would go is, as an administrator, we would give you access to the administrative tab. And here is where you can create and remove users. And then here on the litigation button is all of the firm's cases. And this does populate in real time. So, this morning our firm filed a motion in a new case in SDNY, then automatically this will just populate right here.
Great, thank you. Were there any other questions? We didn't have any others in the box, so feel free to speak up.
Or for those of you who are online, I know we have a couple of other current clients. If you felt comfortable expressing some of your experience with the software or any tips for your colleagues about how a rollout was approached at your firm and any lessons learned, we'd super appreciate it.
And the other thing I'm happy to do is I have a few questions, too, that I've jotted down here. And one of the things is we've heard our panelists all talk about different things that were popular when it was coming to the rollout and with their attorneys. But I'd be curious as to what would you say the most popular feature of PacerPro has been for your attorneys and your docketing clerks and others? Evan?
Well, I think it is the PDF to go. That is no doubt the number one thing that the attorneys rave about. That's essentially, I think that's what they see at the forefront. Me and my folks, we see the back end of things and how easy it is to, once we get the PDFs, because they're already labeled with the case name and the number and the document number. There's really nothing much to do on the back end other than save it to our DMS. But from an attorney perspective, I think it's the accessibility to the automatically receiving the documents.
Excellent. And Debbie, how about for your folks?
I would say the bulk download in addition to the PDFs to go. Definitely the bulk download. It saves a lot of time.
Tell us about that.
I mean, just to be able to, grab them all out of the one email, then to have to go pull each one individually like we've been doing in the past. That's why, especially the paralegals and the legal assistants, that have to download these and put them into the DMS. Like I said, it's just saving them a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had some interesting stories around that. We had a Gibson Dunn partner maybe a year or so ago, and it was a Friday afternoon about 3:30, and she decided that she needed to review the contents of a case they were looking at taking on, and the case already had about 125 total docket entries, which came to about 250 total PDFs that were going to need to be downloaded, labeled, to get ready for a blowback. It would have normally taken somebody about 3.5 hours of just manual labor to download this stuff. PacerPro took 9 minutes.
Yeah, that's the big thing that people don't understand. You get it's just even like a motion for summary judgment with it has 200 exhibits. You get it within a minute or two, as opposed to having a person sitting there and literally for 45 minutes downloading things, renaming them, and distributing them to everybody. The bulk download is just a huge time saver, and the fact that we have ours come through, the majority of them come through custom named, so half the job's already done.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I was just giving an example of just a lot of times firms will transition from one firm to the next, and you don't want to sit around. Your attorneys don't want to sit around and wait for the file to be in effect passed over. So PacerPro, with this ability to go out and find any case within the Pacer network, you can just log in, download the documents, and you're done in a matter of minutes rather than hours. And then, of course, there's the additional benefit, which is any case or document that any of our users have pulled in become freely available to everybody else.
Great. And I see we have some more questions coming in, so I'm going to quickly put this last one to Michelle as well. Michelle, what was the most popular aspect, for your folks?
For the attorneys, definitely the PDF to go. It was, we're very mobile. They can look them up on any of their devices wherever they're at. I'll say for the paralegals, what they like the best is the distribution. Sometimes they get put on, say, a distribution or an attorney's account before on Pacer, and suddenly they're getting basically all the links and cases for that attorney, and they're not on those cases. So this way, they're only able to get the cases that they need to concentrate on and not get a bunch of extra emails. And I will mention one of the things for our floaters in the firm who do late night filings and stuff. Since they're not the secretary on the case, they don't get an immediate ECF notice once they do a filing. With PacerPro, they can quickly go out and see it's done and everything's completed.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And Elaine, do we have more questions coming in? I think I saw a few.
Yeah, we do. One question is, what kind of security/encryption measures do you have in place to protect users' data?
So Gavin, we'll throw that to you.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What's great about all the information that we get from the court is public record, and so we don't ever touch the confidential filings. To the extent somebody has filed something confidentially, the way Pacer is set up with its notice for electronic filing, all you'll get is a copy of the text of the docket entry. You won't actually get the underlying documents. I have absolutely no interest in storing on my system anything that would be confidential. With respect to the Pacer credentials, my CTO could get into kind of all the mechanics there, but it basically salted and hatched and set up in kind of the industry standard protections with regards to passwords. We don't retain on our system in any way, shape, or form the law firm's ECF credentials. Really the setup is a one-time basis where we're adding a secondary email address to the attorney's ECF profile, and once that's done, we don't ever need to touch that profile again. So again, there's no point at which PacerPro is keeping or storing ECF credentials. So I hope that answered the question.
Maybe just to follow on that as well, most of our clients have had us come in and do the setup on the ECF for them, just because, as Michelle said, it's data entry. It takes a couple of days, and it's always hard to find staff to do that. But for any firm that wants to do it themselves, they're welcome to do it. We do have a couple of our larger clients that have taken that approach where they just did the setup on their own.
That's what Sidley Austin did on their end, and other firms have had us come in and sit behind their firewall, working on their machines to do the data entry. Given that I'm an attorney, and as an attorney, it's just one of these things that we're very careful with other people's information.
Thanks, Gavin. We have one more question. It says, hi, how do we get the alerts when there's an updated filing on our case or cases? Will we still get the email alert through ECF and an additional email?
Yes, the answer is your attorneys will continue to get the notices of electronic filing, and then 1 to 2 minutes later, they'll get an email from PacerPro. What's happening is by adding PacerPro as a secondary recipient, PacerPro gets its own copy of the NEF, and then we automatically go online and pull down the pre-look documents and push them out. This mimics a lot of the workflow that litigation teams are currently set up to have, meaning that typically an attorney will have a secretary as a secondary email address on their profile, and when the emails come in, it's the secretary or paralegal's job to go online to download the documents and then distribute them to the case team, right? So we're just taking that human process out and delivering this stuff automatically. So you start getting the free looks automatically as soon as PacerPro adds the unique PacerPro email address to the attorney's profile.
And then actually, Evan, would you speak for a moment about how you have it set up for your department? Because as I understand within Outlook, you have a rule so that the PacerPro emails go to one folder and then the NEFs go to another.
Yeah, so for some cases, we've set it up. So we have a bunch of different email addresses. So we have, if the NEFs go to me, but the PacerPro emails go directly to our court filings inbox. So I don't get duplicative emails, but at least my crew gets a copy, and so did the attorneys get a copy as well. We get it for docketing purposes, but it cuts down on the duplicative emails that at least I receive in my own inbox.
And the other thing I'd add here is, from the attorney perspective, I know everybody's concerned about too much volume. The reality is most attorneys don't want to turn off the notices of electronic filing just in case something were ever to go wrong with the PacerPro system. So they get the NEF. It's kind of a peace of mind there. But then, of course, a minute or two later, they actually get the documents from PacerPro, and that's what they go to look at and open and read and use and all the rest of it. Some attorneys have created rules within their Outlook inboxes to say, if it's coming from ecf.uscourts.gov, please put it into this archive folder, and then the email from PacerPro will come directly in. We don't really want to get in the middle of it. The software itself is very customizable. Some of our bankruptcy practitioners, just because of the volume of stuff they get, will turn the free looks off and use the case feed, and that's the way they interact with the PacerPro system. So it just really depends on the end user and what their preferences are. But what's, I think, really important for a calendaring situation is we are able to deliver all the case documents to the calendaring department. And because the attorneys have a vested interest in making sure that they're getting the documents, we're able to make sure that you guys aren't missing filings because somebody forgot to add a court services email address to the attorney's profile. And we have a lot of firms that are getting, in effect, one BCC on every single PacerPro email address to their calendaring departments.
Yeah. And actually, what I want to mention, one more thing Gavin did for us here is basically, even though we have an e-filing address for both calendar and record, they basically wrote a rule on their system that anything coming from PacerPro will go to those departments, period.
Yeah, and so it's really kind of risk management. And, some of our other clients have talked to us about why they chose to turn the PacerPro service on as opposed to some of the offerings from like a CompuLaw or eDockets, et cetera. And what was coming out of those conversations were the calendaring department didn't want to become the bottleneck or the gatekeepers for the federal court records. You guys already have enough work you need to do to make sure that as the documents come in, you're reviewing them and you're calendaring them appropriately. The idea that all of a sudden, a paralegal or an attorney are asking you for the documents wasn't particularly appealing, nor was the idea of having to actually push this stuff into a records related system. So with PacerPro, because we get a copy of the email, we can send it to wherever we need to go.
Great. Elaine, do we have any other questions that have come in?
We don't at this time, no.
Okay, well, we've got a few minutes left. What I would like to do is go ahead and thank all of our panel members for taking time out to speak with us all today. So thank you to Michelle Koepf, Debbie Brand, and Evan Melluzzo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if there aren't any other questions, I wanted to thank everyone, our panel moderator, our panelists, and Anna and Gavin for joining us today. We will have the PowerPoint posted on the NDA website as usual. So I appreciate your participation and just want to throw in a plug. I'm a client of PacerPro too. We had a very successful 7-office rollout. I could probably echo everything that the panel voiced today. So I really appreciate the product, and I hope that many of you have learned a lot today. And thank you so much. We'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.